Hi, I'm Jen Mahoney in Studio City. You're watching LA City View Channel 35, where you can get the best in culture and arts. It's our city, it's our channel.
Hey, just go!
Good evening, everyone. We'd like to have everyone have a seat, please. And also, everyone that's sitting in the back, we'd like you to come up if you wouldn't mind. I don't know if anyone's going to be sitting there anytime soon, so let's not be shy. Everyone come on up. You could just fill in a little in front if you wouldn't mind. Everybody looks too good to be that scattered. Hi, please have a seat. We'll begin shortly. Anyone that's sitting in back, we'd like you up front, please. Oh, the light is too bright? Well, we'll take the request. They're saying the lighting is a little bright, but we'll see what we can do. But we want to be able to catch everyone on camera as well. Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Can I have everyone please have a seat? I see a few more people trickling in. Okay, hi everyone, good evening. My name is Brandon I. Brooks. I will be your facilitator tonight, so I just want to say thank you for everyone being here tonight. I'm actually the managing editor with the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper and the LA Watch Times newspaper, so we're very excited to be part of this tonight, as this is a very informative, important community meeting that it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So I want to say thank you for all the community's participants for being here tonight. So please give yourselves a hand for making yourselves available. Thank you, thank you. Also, I would like to thank those that made tonight possible, and that would be the Los Angeles Police Commission, as well as the Los Angeles City Council. So let's please give the Police Commission and the Los Angeles City Council a hand. So first off, we do appreciate everyone being here. Tonight's meeting is a community meeting for information from you all on the next police chief of the LAPD. So we're really looking forward to your input and vice versa, those from the panel. First off, I would like to bring up our council president of the City Council, Mr. Council President Herb Wesson of the 10th District, who has a few words that he would like to say to you all. Please, Mr. Wesson, please come up. Thank you, thank you.
Hello, Mr. President, how are you? How's everybody? Hello, hello. Look, I wanted to stop by just to kind of set this up a little bit for you. In a little while, we're going to be hiring a new police chief. And this person could be the chief for the next 10 years. We felt that it was important that we get as much input as we can from the community. So Mr. Harris Dawson, Mr. Price, and myself asked the commissioners if they would do another community meeting so that they could get input. So without pause or hesitation, they agreed to do that. And that's why they're here today. So let's just give them a round of applause for coming out. I really hope that you guys speak your mind and give your suggestions and your concerns. I have spoken to several people in the community, and I want to share with you quickly some of the things that they've said to me about our next chief. Many of these things I did share with Mr. Teefank and Commissioner Johnson. We in Los Angeles want the best chief that's available. And we in Los Angeles, on this part of town, we want to have a chief that's going to give us the same types of services in our area that are given to people in other areas. And we want a police chief that recognizes that this city is a minority city. So we want a chief that wants to partner with all of us. We would like to have a police chief that understands that sometimes our lives are a little different. That when we drive up and down the street and sometimes get stopped by the police, we wonder if we're getting stopped just based on the way we look. And we're a community that sometimes feels compelled to teach our sons and daughters how to act when they're actually stopped by the police. So we want a chief that is sensitive to all of those issues. We also want a chief that recognizes that we all have concerns where it relates to the use of force. And whenever it appears that there is an abuse of the use of force, it seems to be in communities where people look like you and people look like me. So we want a chief that is going to be excited to come to Los Angeles. We want a chief that is committed to trying to ensure that they have a relationship with all of the people. And these are just some of the things that I've heard. And I can tell you without hesitation that these commissioners are serious about listening to us and attempting to respond. So in a minute or two, they will lay out for you the process. They'll give you a timeline of sorts as to when we hope we can get this done. And they will be available to listen to whatever you have to say and to be engaged. This is a very, very important selection for us because I believe that every major city in the United States of America is looking to us to see how we move forward in bringing the next police chief to the greatest city in the world, which is Los Angeles. So thank you all for adjusting your calendars. Speak your mind. Don't hesitate. Let's give input so that as our commissioners move forward, they will definitely use the information that we've provided with them as they try to make their selection process. So again, I thank all of you for coming out, the commissioners for coming out, and for the heck of it, let's just applaud one more time.
Thank you again, Council President. Please, again, give it up for our Council President making himself available today. Thank you. And I think it is important to recognize the LA City Council and President Wesson's work, including coordinating with Councilman Curran Price of the 9th District and Marquise Harris Dawson of the 8th District. So again, for our 3 black councilmen, let's please give a round of applause. Moving things along this evening, I also would like to introduce our lovely panel here. We have the Los Angeles Police Commission, so we do appreciate them making themselves available today. I would like to start it would be our right, Mr. Richard T. Fank, who is the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Police Commission. We have Ms. Shane Murphy Goldsmith, who is a commissioner, and we also have Matthew Johnson, who is the Vice President of the LA Police Commission. So let's please give them a round of applause. To get things started, I would like to bring up Matt Johnson, or allow him to speak first, and I'll give you all, and also Ms. Goldsmith, to give you an overview of the process and also some briefs of the previous meeting. So, Mr. Johnson, if you please could take from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see so many of you here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Brooks, for that introduction, and Council President Wesson for your remarks. As was said, I am the Vice President of the Police Commission. And I'm joined by my fellow police commissioner, Shane Murphy-Goldsmith, and our executive director, Richard T. Feng. We all want to thank you for being here tonight. We want to thank Council President Herb Wesson, 8th District Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson, and 9th District, the new 9th, Councilman Kern Price Jr., as well as the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper for hosting tonight's community meeting. So as you all know, your chief of police for the past 8.5 years, Charlie Beck, has announced his retirement after 42 years of service to the city of Los Angeles. That is effective as of June 27, 2018. The great thing about that is he gave us plenty of notice. He announced his retirement in January, so that has allowed us to set up a search process where we will not have to have an interim chief of police. Our goal is to have a new chief of police prior to his retirement on June 27th. So the way the process works is governed by our city charter. Under the city charter, the general manager of the city's personnel department, in conjunction with the Board of Police Commissioners, conducts the recruitment. During the month of March, the commission held 6 community input meetings for us to hear from the community what qualities, characteristics, and competencies the community would like to see in the next chief of police. Additionally, there was a community survey that was available online through March 23rd to provide an additional opportunity for public input. So I'm glad to have another opportunity to hear directly from the public. It's not too late. We are still in the process of formulating our questions right now for the interviews, so this meeting is definitely timely. The information that we heard from the previous community input meetings, along with the information we will get tonight, will help us prepare our interview questions for the candidates. I kept notes from my meetings, my community meetings, and just so you can get a sense of the amount of input, we have 3 pages of single-spaced comments from the public, which were all very, very worthwhile and useful. I want to just give you a brief overview of some of the topics that we kind of heard again and again, reoccurring themes. And that's not to discourage you from repeating the themes, because frankly, the more we hear the same things, it gives us some direction about what folks think are the important issues to cover. So some of the reoccurring themes that we heard were a commitment of qualities that people want to see in their chief of police, are a commitment to fair and constitutional policing. And Council President Wesson, it's something you've talked a lot about and something you addressed tonight. Someone who understands and respects our diverse communities. Again, as Council President Wesson indicated, we are actually a majority-minority city. Someone who's committed to community policing. Someone willing to hold their employees accountable. Accountability was a big theme that we heard in our meetings. Someone with vision, creativity, that's a real problem solver. Someone with strong communication and collaboration skills. Someone who's trustworthy and transparent. Someone who promotes development of staff, succession planning, and is committed to diversity. So those are some common themes we've heard. Applications for the chief of police were submitted to the personnel department, and they forwarded all of the applications to the police commission for consideration. The application period closed on March 23rd, and we received a total of 31 applications. The most qualified candidates will be interviewed by the police commission. This is a responsibility that I can tell you the police commission takes very, very seriously. We understand the importance of helping to select the right police chief. After we do our interview process, we provide the mayor with the names of our top 3 candidates in rank order. From those 3, the mayor will select his appointee, whose name will be forwarded to the city council for confirmation. We are on track to have the 3 names submitted to the mayor no later than June 1st, 2018. So what we'd like to do this evening is to hear directly from you on what you would like to see in your next chief of police. In order to keep this process going, there are comment cards for everyone to fill out, and our secretary will call up speakers one by one in an orderly manner. We will absolutely get to everyone, I promise. We will stay here as long as it takes. We do ask that you hold your comments to 2 minutes so that we can get to everyone, and I believe there's a timer. Since this meeting is to gather input on the qualities, characteristics, and competencies of the next chief of police, I would ask you to keep your comments to that subject. Commissioner Goldsmith, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. Good evening. So happy to be here and to see the room filled with so many people who love Los Angeles and want to make it the best city it can be. And I want to echo Commissioner Johnson's thanks to Council President Herb Wesson, City Council Member Marquise Harris-Dawson, and Council Member Kern Price, as well as the LA Sentinel. And, you know, the Police Commission is at its best when communities make their voices heard and make sure that we know what the needs are in the community and what you want to see in terms of service from the police department and continued improvement of the police department. So we really can't do our job without you. And so I'm so grateful that you all have taken time out of your schedules and your family life and work to be here with us tonight, and encourage you to come on Tuesday mornings. We meet every week. We would love to see you there. But really, we are deeply committed to making sure that the police department is responding to the needs of this community and building trust in this community. And so, so this evening's meeting is particularly important to us. So I look forward to hearing from all of you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Again, let's give a hand to the Police Commission again for the time. Before we go any further, I would also like to introduce one of our councilmen who is in the building today, Mr. Councilman Kern Price of the 9th District. If you could please come up here. Mr. Price would like to share a few words with you all.
Thank you, Brendan. Good afternoon. Or is it evening? It's hard to tell sometimes. Anyway, I'm just excited to be here. You know, Councilman Marquise Harris-Dawson and Council President Herb Wesson and I are united in working together and collaborating together. And so it was important that we worked with the police department and other community organizations to host this event tonight, because we want to hear what you have to say. It's extremely important. We know that there's a real opportunity. There's opportunities, and so that's what's so exciting about this process, when we have a police commission that has really opened up the doors and created some real transparency in this process. So I just want to thank the Vice President Johnson, Commissioner Goldsmith, and of course Richard, the Executive Director, who really makes things roll. But we also want to thank the Sentinel. Let's give it up for the Sentinel. Managing editor Brandon Brooks, and we know how important the media is, especially ethnic media, and keeping us accountable, demanding more, and asking the right and the hard questions. And so again, we appreciate the Sentinel and the unique role you're playing here tonight. As we've heard, dozens of candidates from all backgrounds have stepped up to the challenge to lead the Los Angeles Police Department. The city is faced with a colossal decision, and none of us are taking this lightly, and I'm sure that you are not either. That's why, in fact, you're here. This is not an easy feat, but it is, as I said before, an exciting opportunity. Personally, I want someone who has a strong track record of working with diverse communities, like the one I represent. And we keep hearing that over and over again. We need someone who's willing to lean in, to listen, and to learn. Someone's not going to be afraid to do that. I certainly want, again, a chief who is committed to this notion of community-based policing. We've all, I think, seen the positive results of that, and I think it needs to be expanded and encouraged further. We need someone who's not intimidated to step a foot outside of the LAPD headquarters and come down to South LA, where we are, right? And I'm not just talking in times of problems, in times of turmoil, in times of stress, but also for the fun stuff, for the festivals, for the block parties, for the festivals. And so, again, we want a chief that's not afraid to be active and involved. In DC9, we're fortunate to have a unique program, CSP, which stands for Community Safety Partnerships. And we've had 2 successful programs that are housing projects in the 9th District, at Avalon Gardens and at Pueblo del Rio. Prior to the implementation of this program, there was lots of violence, uncertainty, and problems. Since the police have come on the site, again, in a community-based kind of orientation, things have changed. And so we've seen directly how differences can be influenced. It's my hope to see programs like this expanded, not just in South LA, really, but around the city, because they really do make a difference. But again, we need a cop, we need a chief who's going to not be afraid to meet with his folks. You know, I want a chief who's going to listen to the captains and the commanders. You know, those guys who are on the front line, who are really making the decisions. Because we need to hear from every Angelino, not just electeds. Your input, as I said, is very, very important, and that's really why we're here this evening. We want to make sure that that the chief is a leader with a thick skin and a strong backbone, right? Thick skin and strong backbone. And again, not afraid to stand up for the most vulnerable in our communities. And we're talking about those not only economically challenged, but those who are homeless and others. And again, we want someone who leads with integrity and character, and someone who has a real sense of fairness and justice. So I'm looking forward to hearing from what you have to say. Remember that your opinion matters, your thoughts count, and your feelings do make a difference. Now, I'm not too concerned about the successor's skin color or gender as a determining factor. But you know, it's always a plus to have someone break the racial barriers or the gender barriers. Don't you agree? So we'll see. More importantly, though, is a person that can work with the community, one who respects the community, one who can provide the kind of leadership and inspiration. Again, not just for the men and women in blue on the force, but for the community at large. And so I'm excited about this process. I'm excited that you are involved and are part of this conversation, and I look forward to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bryce. We appreciate that. Again, please give him a hand. We appreciate his time this evening. And everything that he's saying is very important. You know, this whole process, it's not possible without the community. So if we're not involved, and if you all are here tonight, they're not able to take this input back to those that matter. So what is taking place tonight is very important. So for them to make themselves available and for you all to make yourselves available is important. So again, I do appreciate it. So I do believe we all deserve one more hand before we begin. So please give yourselves a hand one more time. So now to the good stuff, the exciting stuff, as they say. So what I'm holding up again is the speaker card. So for those that may have came in late, there are speaker cards that you can fill out, which will give you an opportunity to come up to the mic. Each person will be given 2 minutes to speak. So if you see these speaker cards, they're available in the back. The police officers have them, and after you fill them out, you can hand them to the police officers. They'll put you in line, and you'll have an opportunity to come to the podium, to the microphone here, and give your comments. We do ask that you keep your comments based on the police chief. We understand there's a lot of issues going on within our community, but this just isn't the forum for that. But again, the person that will be leading the charge will be your police chief, so your comments about the characteristics, the qualities, and the attributes are very vital. So that's what we're trying to stay on. And again, we're giving you about 2 minutes, give or take, a few seconds over, but we're gonna ask for everybody to be timely because we really wanna give everybody an opportunity to speak. So with that being said, I think we will start with our first speaker. So I have here a person by the name of Pepper Warren. Is Pepper Warren here? All right. So please take the mic. Thank you.
Good evening.
Yes.
The mic is hot. Oh,
yes, sir.
Okay, wake up, I'm a singer. Okay, basically what I would like to say, thank everyone for being here. I really appreciate you guys. I support law enforcement. But one thing I would just like to say that you guys have a part to play. Also, the community have a part to play, a very important part. And what I want to say to every African American man in America and woman, you see this? This is your life. It's in your hands. And you should value that, because I know for a fact that every person on this planet is a great person and they should have a chance to live. And that's all I want to say. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the LAPD, law enforcement worldwide. But most of all, I just want to say thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Warren. Appreciate your time. All right, we'll keep moving things along. I have a person by the name of Mrs. Carolina Alvarez. Ms. Carolina Alvarez. We have a Miss Carolina Alvarez.
Don't be shy.
So it's not related to the... Okay, we do appreciate you being honest about that, so thank you. Thank you, Lamika.
I'll talk to her.
But if you do have another comment, well, we do have some time, so feel free to jump back in line. Don't be shy, don't be shy. Okay, next up, we have Mr. Brian Bowens. Brian Bowens. Thank you, Mr. Bowens.
Good evening. I'm a longtime resident of the General 9008 community. Back in 1992, I was a part of a 2020 expose that actually looked at driving while black in Los Angeles. It was a very interesting and enlightening experiment. I'm sure some of you guys remember that. That was when we had an experiment with a new police chief that came from outside the ranks of LAPD with Willie Williams, and he was on that episode with me. But I must say that a lot of the systemic things honestly have changed, but have honestly remained the same, and it really does begin at the top. I think Councilman Price was extremely accurate in saying that we need a police chief that is forward-thinking and that has a thick skin and has an understanding of diverse communities, and that is willing to, I mean, to quote a cliche, think outside the box. I mean, without going into too much, we can look around our nation and tell that there is a conversation and a cultural and seismic change in just how government is dealing with its citizenry. So with that in mind, I think we need to look at, you know, some radical and some out-of-the-box things. Councilman Price talked about the simpleness of a police chief willing to come down and experience life in the community on a day-to-day basis on the regular things, not when it's an actual crisis, and not when you're seeing the residents in their worst moments, but perhaps actually having the opportunity to relate to them in some of their very normalized and very regular moments. Now, myself, I think completely outside the box. I think we can take that to a point of actually engaging patrol officers and you know, and not necessarily just having a suggestion, but actually making a part of their quote unquote, we say retraining and activism and being a part of the community, actually, you know, insisting that they, you know, take a part of those small incremental steps of being able to relate with the community. So when it's a time of crisis, they can actually personally identify people that they've had interaction with outside of a critical situation. Yep. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Thank you for those comments and appreciate you being timely. Next up, we have Miss, Kath Rogers. I thought Kathy, maybe Kathy. Thank you, Mrs. Rogers.
Hi, I'm Kath Rogers. I'm the Executive Director of the National Lawyers Guild Los Angeles chapter, and we're the oldest human rights bar association in the country, and we share Councilmember Price's commitment to the importance of community policing, diversity, and protecting our most vulnerable. And I want to emphasize 3 points. The importance of a commitment to protecting the civil rights and free speech of protesters, and that's something we've been really involved with the LAPD in working with, and that's something we really want to stress the importance of. Second, standing with our immigrant community and opposing any cooperation with federal immigration authorities, and which splits up families and deports people. And third, we want to stress the importance of decriminalizing minor offenses. which too often feed into the cycle of poverty and criminalization and mass incarceration, and often affect our most vulnerable, including people living on the street and people living in poverty. So we hope to see a police chief who wants to see the LAPD as a leader on civil rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, next up we have Mr. Michael Lawson. Mr. Lawson, thank you for your time, sir.
For those of you who don't know, Michael Lawson is the new president of the Urban League, which has been doing amazing work in our city for decades. And one of our predecessors on the police commission, John Mack, was a leader of the Urban League and was a great champion of police reform in our city. Michael, great to see you here tonight. Thank you for your service to our city.
Thank you very much. I just want to echo what has been said earlier and just make the point that what we're going to see, what you're going to do is incredibly important, but what's going to be more important is what's going to happen afterwards. Whoever you choose has to have the integrity that everybody's spoken about, have to have the community input that everybody's spoken about, but the question is going to have, we have to focus on and have to be cognizant of is that when the crisis hits, and it will, he or she needs to be willing to step up and hold his or her officers to task. And to me, that is the most important element that we need to look for in a police chief, the willingness to stand up to the officers who are not doing what they're supposed to do. Yes, he has to be engaged with the community, but he has to be able to act as a leader and hold his officers to task. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. And thank you for that note, Mr. Johnson. Yes, the LA Urban League has been doing great work in the community for years, so we're looking forward to Mr. Lawson taking that helm and taking it to another plateau. So thank you, sir, for your time. Next up, we have Clint Rosemont. Clint Rosemont.
Thank you. Good evening. It is hot, isn't it? Just a few remarks. I think that I would hope that the next police chief is sensitive to what has gone on before him or her. A lot of people in this community, including the current police chief, people like Connie Rice, gang intervention leaders, other people like Officer Tingarides and his wife, and people who have been committed to doing innovative, courageous things need to be recognized in terms of that work continuing. We need to have continuation and expansion of a commitment to community-based policing. We need a police chief who has integrity, courage, and honesty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, next up we have Yulia Ross. Yulia Ross. Something else? Okay. Thank you for your honesty. Next community member we have is Marie Bryant. Marie Bryant. Thank you, Marie.
Good evening. While I would love to have a police chief that comes from within, sometimes you have to get someone that is not raised up and brought up in the system. Because for a lot of the black and brown people in this community, being brought up in the system has led to death and heartache for their family members. So as long as the person is of strong moral fiber, I don't care whether it's a person that's chosen from within or without, but without a strong leadership, our city will continue to be a city that kills a lot of its citizens for what seems like no reason at all. I would also like to see a police chief and as you as commission members to support changing a stand that you took on having officers review their body cameras before they write their reports. Because a lot of times those two don't match. And having them to review before they make the reports makes no sense to me if you're looking for the truth. And another thing, I think that all officers or candidates for the police force should be subject to a deep psychological exam. And some of these problems will be eliminated before they happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great comments. Thank you. Next up, we have community member Ms. Gwendolyn Wood. Gwendolyn Wood. Thank you, Ms. Wood.
Good evening.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. I have a couple of things that I would like to say about the police chief candidates. Besides being just doing things transparency, they need to be able to work with not just the community and the officers and their staff, but also be able to talk to the news people. Because, we have to, give them correct information. Also, they need to be, maybe we should have a little education on tweeting and, Facebook, things like that, because, we want to be able to have that good communication going on. And since we have all these different arenas of spreading out information, let's be positive and let's be correct in all of it. So that's a big thing to me. Patience also. I think they need to be able to be patient with everyone. Once again, with their staff, with the community, with the commissioners, and with other people involved that would be helping them. One of the things is the community policing. I work with Harvard Park Community Safety Partnership, and just in the 6 months that it has been in effect, the police and the community are coming together where before they wouldn't even talk to each other. And so the people are actually coming up to the officers. The officers are also giving of themselves. It's not just, oh, we're coming in here policing. They're actually there for what one gentleman was saying, the positive things. Yep. So that in a sense that he has to be able to say, you know what, we're going to go out of the box and provide this in other areas that's showing these problems. So you may ask him, what is he going to do to continue that and to constantly improve on it?
Absolutely.
So that's one of the few things I wanted to add to it. And then one of the things, the other thing is be very supportive of your staff that maybe have ideas outside of the box. That maybe will say, you know what, this will work in my community where it won't work in others. So they need to be, kind of open-minded also.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Great comments. Great comments. Thank you. Next up, we have Mrs. Danielle Lafayette. Danielle Lafayette. All right. Thank you, Danielle.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening.
I'm here. I'm a mother of 2 sons, so I have 2 small boys who are 5 and 8 years old, and they play sports at our neighborhood park, Jim Gilliam Recreation Center, and other parks in our community. And my thing is having a police chief and a policing system that's community policing, but at the same time making sure that the community has the power and not the police chief, and maybe that having the power together, and then also in them coming out to our community, having them not always come out with their guns. So when they come out to coach our kids and different things like that, they come out with guns. And I always find that to be a very big problem. It's great if they come out, but I think they should come out as community people, not with guns, because our kids are already traumatized a lot by seeing police in our community. And then also finding a way for our kids to see police doing more positive things as opposed to negative things. So having two small African American males, they're always seeing the police arresting someone. So it's every day we see the police arresting someone, having someone in handcuffs. I've even seen a situation where a little boy copied his father. They had the father outside of his car, and there was a little boy with him, about 5 years old, and the little boy stood with his back turned toward the police as well. And I just thought that he's going to grow up to mimic that, what he just saw. So I would just ask that maybe somehow figuring out, because even at the park, I've seen police run through, chasing people while kids were there. It's just been a problem, them driving up on the sidewalk, chasing kids, when kids weren't even doing anything wrong. So I would say that just having a police chief that understands the situations or understands the different communities that he's in, and really not coming out with guns all the time if they're going to participate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lafayette. Next, we have community member Elaine Johnson. Elaine Johnson. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
All right, thank you for having me.
Hello.
I came here tonight because I need your help, and I need it desperately. I live on 6th Avenue in Vernon, and I'm sure all of you are aware of that area. And if you're not, I'm about to tell you that I will not be influenced by gang members. I've had 3 consecutive incidents happening around my house. One, there was a shooting. I guess it just felt like shooting. But what they did, they shot in front of my house and left all of their casings in my yard. That meant that the police had to come in and check that out. The next was, I had spoken to one of the gang members and told him, not here, not now. And we had, I thought, a good relationship. However, about 2 weeks later, he was shot. And I'm standing there watching him be shot. Okay. The third is, there was a fire. I mean, they decided to set someone's car on fire, which took part of my house, part of my property also. So I'm here tonight asking you and asking everyone in this room and in this neighborhood, help us. I will not stand for it. If I have to stand alone, then I'll do that. But I have a grandchild that can't even play in her front yard, and I won't have it, okay? Any suggestions that you have that you need to tell me, or if I need to reach out, I'm reaching up and down the streets now, talking to my neighbors and trying to come together as one. And we can do this. So I would appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I'd love to hear from you or hear from someone about this.
Ma'am? Thank you. Lieutenant Caldera, who is in the back of the room right there, if you'll see the lieutenant there, he's raising his hand. If you'll speak to him, he'll get your contact information. We will contact the area commander tomorrow where you live and have them reach out and talk with you, okay? Okay, talk to Lieutenant Caldera, though. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And just again, a friendly reminder, we do have to keep it on topic to attributes and characteristics for the police chief. There are many officers here that you can speak to on your own time, but we do just want to stay on schedule so everyone can have comments. Before we continue, I would like to bring up another one of our council members, Mr. Marquise Harris Dawson of the 8th District. Mr. Dawson, please come on up. One of the key persons who brought us here tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here, and I want to thank the commissioners, Councilman Price, Council President Wesson, and myself. We're very excited about putting this event together because it's really important that we have the conversation before something happens. Oftentimes we wait until there's a situation and then we're talking, and it's oftentimes too late to talk. So I want to thank the commissioners. I'll ask you to give them a big round of applause for being here. And I want you to give yourselves a big round of applause for being here as well and participating in the process. Commissioners, you're hearing lots of great feedback from the community about how important the job that you have in front of you is and how meaningful it is to our everyday lives. As the council member, we hear countless stories and countless situations that could be improved and countless situations that have been improved because of the role that the police department can play in our communities. I would leave with you, the commissioners that are here, you've heard this from me before, we got sort of one move to the basket that we are trying to keep in the front of the discussion around new police chief. The first is we have to have somebody with a commitment to community-based, relationship-based policing. There's no replacement for that. I heard someone talking about young people having interaction with police before there's a problem and when it's not a negative situation. That's very important. We've seen in different neighborhoods in our community that really is the only way to do it and do it successfully. And second, the new police chief has to have some creativity on homelessness. The situation we have in Los Angeles is that the biggest mental health facility in the country is the streets of Los Angeles. Officers in every neighborhood are going to come in contact with people who are either one, out of a home, or two, out of a home and have a mental health diagnosis. And we don't want a situation where we throw everybody in jail. And we also don't want situations where those people are accidentally or inadvertently fatally injured. And we know that that's a very, very vulnerable population, a population that this community thinks about a lot because we've lost a lot of nieces and nephews and cousins and uncles to drug abuse and to untreated mental health conditions. And so we ask you to keep that on the front plate. And again, thank you all so much for being here, and thank you all for giving me an opportunity to jump into the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Councilman. We appreciate it. And I think it just again shows the commitment of our local councilmen to make themselves available and help organize this, because it wouldn't be possible without our city council and the councilmen, and also again the LA Police Commission. So we do thank them. Next up, I would like to bring up community member Darlene Hunt. Darlene Hunt. Thank you, Darlene.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to ask the board members, what are you looking for in a police chief when you make that final decision? Because you are the ones that's going to make it.
Well, I think, so there's 5 commissioners. I'm sure we all have slightly different priorities, but almost all of the concerns that have been voiced here tonight are at the top of my list of consideration. So someone that is truly committed and invested in community and relationship-based policing is critically important. We've seen how successful it is. One thing about it is that I remind people is that when our CSP program, and someone here had some experience with the new program that we launched in Harvard Park. When it was first launched, it was not embraced. It wasn't widely embraced by the LAPD, and it wasn't embraced by the community. But you had a chief of police that believed in it and believed that by investing in the program, that was actually going to create a better relationship. And it has worked fantastically. In many ways. It is in the traditional ways of how we think about policing. There's been a significant drop of crime in the communities that have the CSP program. And just as importantly, when there are crimes, the solve rate of those crimes has gone through the roof. And that's because there's a trust between the community members and the police department, so there's that level of communication. So that leads me to my next point that's very important to me is someone that is creative, that's a visionary, that has a strong backbone, so that next program, and Councilmember Harris Dawson talked about homelessness. That to me is the defining issue in our city right now, and we need creative, innovative solutions to that. And we need someone that's going to be willing to maybe make decisions that might not be popular, but has the strength to stand behind those decisions to see them through. At the end, like the CSP program, you won't find anybody that doesn't like the program. It's easy to like things when they're successful, but it's hard to find those people that will be willing to stand with it and move an organization and move a community and just be willing to have that backbone to push it through. One of the things that's been mentioned here tonight is accountability. The chief of police absolutely sets the entire tone for the organization. And if you don't have a chief that's willing to hold the individuals in your organization accountable, that's just going to bleed through the entire organization. So someone that's willing to have a firm commitment to accountability is important. Transparency. Am I covering all of it? I will stop with transparency and I'll let my fellow commissioner before I use up all the good ones.
You got most of the good ones. Yeah, I completely agree, and you said it beautifully. Community policing, accountability, addressing homelessness and other vulnerable populations. And I was going to say that commitment to transparency and also to building trust. I think a commitment to transparency is a key way to build trust, as is community policing and community engagement. So I think those are the key ones.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Oh, one last thing. I mean, that is what I think we've heard from communities across Los Angeles and the values we bring to this work, but the purpose of being here tonight is to hear from you, and we are eager to hear other thoughts and ideas from you and are open to other concerns that may be unique to this community.
Thank you for that. All right, so we'll move along. Next up, we have a community member, Miss Ana Carrion. Hi, Ana. Thank you for your time. She's going to walk around. And we're going to extend the time a bit for translation. Thank you again, Ana.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Buenas noches. Voy a hablar por respeto a mi etnicidad.
I want to speak respecting my ethnicity.
En español.
So I'm going to do that in Spanish.
Esto es lo que pasa.
This is what is happening
con nuestra gente que no habla inglés.
This is what is happening with all of us that don't speak English.
Okay, esto es un gran problema de comunicación. Thank you. Es un gran problema de comunicación entre el Departamento de Policía o toda la organización policíaca con nuestra gente.
Okay, so basically this is a problem that we have with our people and the police department or the organization because there is the language barrier.
Thank you. Es el primer paso que tenemos de barrera de comunicación cuando hay ciertos problemas en la comunidad.
This is the first barrier that we have when there is a problem in the community, within the community, because there is no communication language.
Y necesitamos un jefe que tenga la capacidad de crear un proyecto, un programa de servicio, de customer service.
So what we need is we need a chief of police that has the capacity to create like a customer service program or project.
Creo que será un gran paso para crear una relación entre las comunidades latinas.
I think it would be a very good step to create a good bond with the Hispanic community.
También queremos que este representante tenga la capacidad de crear proyectos en el área educativo.
So we also want this representative, you know, the chief, to create some kind of programs, educational programs.
Ya que tenemos la mala visión, las generaciones que están creciendo ahorita.
Because as it is right now, we have like a bad perception for all the generation that is growing right now, the kids that are growing right now.
De tener una mala relación con el departamento de policía.
That we do have a bad relationship with the police department.
Nosotros, la comunidad a la que represento dentro del Club Chicano Latino.
So my community is the Chicano Latino community.
Es de crear esa relación más de empoderamiento.
So what we want is my community wants to build a community-based relationship with the department.
Y queremos que en verdad él cree un sistema para apoyo en nuestros estudiantes.
So we want him to create a system that could support our students.
Ya que el porcentaje en Los Ángeles es de mucho latino dentro de las cárceles y nuestra gente afroamericana.
So, because the percentage of Hispanics and African Americans in jail is way too elevated. It's too high.
Necesitamos que esta persona en verdad cree un programa de reducción de tasa de esta juventud para que no siga cayendo en este sistema.
What we want is for someone to create a program that will help us reduce this percentage of Hispanics and African American young people, especially, to avoid being in jail.
Creemos que también, como mujer, no sé si al próximo representante nos gustaría que sea una mujer también, no nada más crear sobre los caballeros, pero también creer esa capacidad de la mujer dentro del departamento de policía.
As a woman that I am, you know, I really respect gentlemen, but it would be really lovely to have a lady leading the police department, because we have so much capacity. Yeah. It would be really wonderful also.
Yeah, we can do.
So, with all due respect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Anna. Next up, we have community member Byron Jamerson. Byron? Mr. Byron Jamerson. Thank you, Byron.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You know, I've heard a lot of concerns in here this evening about the safety of the community. And I don't understand how we operate a safe community when we're giving sanctuary to illegal aliens. I am a citizen, and I don't know how this works. If I commit a crime, will I be released? I don't know how this works, and it's not against Hispanics. We have all kinds of folks that are illegal aliens, and I would like to know how you're going to pose the question to the potential new police chief. What's his opinion about sanctuary? The governor has decided that the state needs to be a sanctuary state. Didn't ask anybody. Okay, and there's some people who are rejecting the fact that you're letting people go and not working with the federal government and getting them deported. So I would like to know if you're asking that question, and is that an important area for you all?
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay. All right. Next, we have community member Lynetta McElroy. Lynetta McElroy. Thank you, Lynetta.
Hi, thank you so much for having this meeting. I just want to let you know I'm the captain of Great Bern Avenue Block Club, also the acting secretary for the Southwest Division of the CPAB. I would like to mirror some of the comments saying that we do have officers who attend the Block Club meetings. I think that's very important. But I've noticed we have two kinds of police officers. There is a quotation, a Spanish quotation that says, "Los ojos, los levantados de la alma." The eyes are the windows of the soul. And I see that when I encounter officers. And I know what kind of officer they are. Are they a senior lead officer? I can see it where they're actually listening to me. If they're not, I can see that they're very cold, analytical, and really don't listen to what I am saying. So when there's incidents in the community or even on my street, I introduce myself. I say, I'm the captain of the block club. May I help you with such? And if they're a patrol officer, you can tell it's like I'm a non-person. And I think this is why we have a problem. Because on the one hand, we have excellent senior lead officers who go way out of their way. On their time off, they're calling. We can call them. We eat with them. We talk to them about issues and problems. We have some excellent police officers that are our unsung heroes, and they should get commended for that. And a matter of fact, we do try, for my block club, we do have a luncheon for our public safety officers. But my point is that we need a chief who understands that we have two kinds of police officers. And if you notice, it's that second kind, the ones who see us not as humans, not as people like them, but as a clinical, cold entity. That is why they get into trouble and do things that are completely inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elmore. Next up, we have community member, Mr. Andrew Knox. Andrew Knox, please come to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Knox.
Good evening.
Good evening. Actually, the previous speaker covered some of the things that I was going to say, but I often see two types of policing in the city of Los Angeles. In the West Side and the Valley, it's a positive approach. In the South Central area, it's a negative approach and a heavy-handed approach. I would like to see a chief who's going to insist that that positive approach that is used on the West Side and in the Valley is conducted in South Central Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. Good comments. Next, we have Mr. Community Member and Mr. Institution, Mr. Greg Doolin. Thank you, Mr. Doolin.
Institution, okay. Well, personally, I'd like to have a police chief that's personable and approachable, but also someone who is sensitive to the challenges that we as small business owners face, and who will look to use small businesses as a resource in terms of helping him do his job. Often, businesses like myself, I've operated my restaurant, Doolin's Soul Food Restaurant, for 34 years on the corner of Crenshaw and 50th Street. And, you know, I know how important it is to have good relations with the police officers and how important small businesses are and can be to the police department, our cameras, we know the community, etc. One of the things that I do every year is I hold a community breakfast, and it's pancakes with police, if you will. And Southwest Division sends over 11 police officers, 11, 12 police officers. They cook the pancakes. I turn over the restaurant, they serve the food. We bring in about 200 to 300 community members. And it is a great way to build that trust and that relationship that I hear people talking about. So the police chief should know that small businesses can help him, and maybe he could develop some type of small business corps or a group or body that he can consult with on a basis, and that will give him a good foundation into the different communities around Los Angeles. You know, whether it's Doolin's on Crenshaw or Tito's Tacos or that's Culver City, right? Sorry. Well, I like Tito's Tacos, but you know what I'm saying. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Doolin. And for those curious, again, Doolin's runs a great restaurant in the heart of the community, so we appreciate it, and I just want a discount on them biscuits next time, hopefully. All right, next up, we have a community member, General Jeff. General. Oh, there, Mr. General is coming. Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hey, Commissioner. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is General Jeff, born and raised in South Central Los Angeles in the Crenshaw District. And right now, as you all know, I'm a community activist in Skid Row. There's a lot that we, the people, find wrong with this structure of this whole entire process. I've already voiced some of those to you at the Los Angeles Police Commission meetings. We, the people in the city of Los Angeles, we elect our mayor. We, the people of the city of Los Angeles, we elect our city council. And so now this is the most important decision in your term as Los Angeles Police Commissioners. And we're talking about a current LAPD budget that's separate from the city's general fund that's over $2 billion. And we feel, we the people, there are those of us in the city of Los Angeles that we want to elect our police chiefs, not only this time, but from here moving forward. So there's a need for this commission to elect and put forth an interim chief, and so that we have enough time so that we can change this process so we the people can actually elect our next police chief. So just for example, some of the issues, we don't even know who the candidates are. You know, the candidates haven't been put forth publicly. You know, there may be, we the people may come forth in terms of issues of sexual harassment, domestic violence, illegal business practices that would eliminate them as a candidate. And so, you know, we need our voice in this process. Also, Councilmember Harris Dawson so eloquently spoke to homelessness and mental illness, but he's talking about that amongst the public. We need a police chief that's going to deal with the mental illness that exists within the department. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of scared police officers that are running around causing trauma to us. They need treatment them own damn selves. So again, we're upset with this process. You need to halt this, put a complete halt, respect the people, select an interim chief, and let's get it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. General. Next up, we have community member Valina DeSmix. Excuse me for the last name. It's a little hard to read, but Valina? Is there a Valina? Okay, we'll go to the next. Thank you. Next up, we have community member Mr. Michael Thompson. Mr. Michael Thompson? Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your time.
Good evening.
Good evening, commissioners. I think with what I do for a living, I'm a banker by trade. There's transparency in our industry. There's accountability in our industry. I think what I would love to see, especially with the new commissioner, I'd love to see a business plan, a business model. Can we frame it so that we, the people, the community, can actually see what these, what's in those business plans? What does it look like, for us? Some of the concerns that we have in our community can be really addressed by us doing a deep dive into those business plans for those potential candidates. But I'd like to see, as we do these forums, if we have an opportunity to actually, as we say, this gentleman said, the people can actually take a look, and maybe we can pinpoint some of the things that are near and dear to us. I'm certainly sure there's probably 10 things on each of those candidates, their blueprints or their business plans that they can at least share with us and how they're going to do it. I think with the outgoing, police chief, taking some of the good, the bad, and, really taking that plan and seeing, okay, how does that line up for the new candidates? But I would like to see that and, addressed with, us as the people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Next up, we have community member Sharma Harris. Sharma Harris. Hi, Sharma.
Good evening. My name is Sharma Harris, and I bring you greetings from Greensboro, North Carolina, home of the North Carolina A&T State University Aggies. I want to let you know that I did not know anything about this meeting until just a few hours ago. I was shopping in the mall. This is my second visit to Los Angeles, and it is a beautiful, beautiful city. But I think that it was not by chance that I happened to hear about this meeting, because in Greensboro, I'm also very active in the police community meetings that we have. Greensboro, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is the third largest city in North Carolina. We are right behind Raleigh, North Carolina. We have pretty much the same issues that you all are going through here in Los Angeles. We're just not as large a city as you all are. But we also have challenges that are going on where we all together, regardless of whatever city or state that we're living in, we need to work together to make sure that our leaders are looking out for us, the citizens, because we are depending on our leaders to make things beautiful, wholesome, righteous for us and our children that are growing up in these communities. I would like to say that as far as a police chief, we all could use a chief that is, number one, going to be honest, that's going to be truthful. The word I've heard a lot is transparent, and we do need that. It's very important. And we need leaders that are willing to not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. Do what you say you're going to do, not just because you want to get elected, but because you really, truly care about your citizens. You really, truly care about your residents. So this has gone off on me, but I just want to say that elect somebody that's honest, truthful, that wants to work with the diverse, beautiful population you have here, and I do love this city. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time and making yourself available. Thank you. Next up, we have community member Maria Isabel Rutledge. Thank you, Maria, for your time.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name again is Maria Isabel Rutledge. I'm a community member in the Manchester, Vermont area near Figueroa, and I've been there about 60 years. Wow. And I'm a chairperson of the 90th Plus Street Block Club. I retired from Los Angeles Unified School District. My main thing is that I want to point the sanctuary thing. I really appreciate that, because police should not be ICE. They should be totally separate, and I think that it's very humane, and I thank you for that. Also, I want to also say that the two types of police officers are really a fact, and it's very scary. And one of the main things is that in Mexico, when I visited, there's an area called Zona Roja. That means red zone. That means where prostitution and all kinds of illicit things are okay, is legal. And I find that it's very legal in the Figueroa area near where I live, that to see naked ladies walking down the street and our children walking to school. And I really would like to see a police chief that would like to see us as human beings that deserve decency and respect for our children and for our schools. I would like to see a police chief that would divide the police officers that you have on hand as to the need. Our community needs more police officers in order for them to develop a positive role model with our students, with our communities. And I feel that if we are given more police officers, they don't have to be only there to bash and abuse and treat our people as less. They would have the time and the care to give to our community, to go into the schools and to create a positive role model with our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Just about a couple more. We have community member Misty Wilkes. Misty Wilkes. Thank you, Misty.
I actually didn't put my name on that card, but apparently somebody thought I had something to say. In my community, I like to ask the non-black police officers a few questions, and I'll tell you those questions, and y'all figure out what y'all should ask the chief out of that. One of my questions is always whether or not they know who Emmett Till was. Because I've known all my life that he was bludgeoned to death and beat to death based on the lie of a white woman, and she just passed away not too long ago and admitted on her deathbed that it was a lie, something that I've always known. I asked them if they know who George Stilwell was. He was the youngest black child ever convicted in the United States of America, as far as I know. And now everyone is willing to admit that there's no way that this young, emaciated child could have held down and killed two white people. I asked them if they know or have ever seen the video of Latasha Harlins paying for her juice and then being shot in the back of her head for that. I asked them if these are real questions that if you talk to the police officers in Leimert, I grill them. I asked them if they're willing to concede that police departments were developed at a time when it was their job to reinforce the then unsubstantiated lie of the violence of black men in order to justify the violence against them. First, bringing us here in chains, saying that we were violent, that's why we had to be brought here in chains, using it as justification for hanging 4,000 or 5,000 of us from trees all across this country, and then for the existence of, for as long as I can remember, using it as an excuse for riddling our bodies with bullets, from chains to nooses to bullets. I think we need somebody that is willing to at least acknowledge that history, and that if you've built a foundation, sometimes you have to tear a house down instead of trying to build on it. And if we can't tear it down, will they at least acknowledge and admit that there needs to be some real change? Maybe it's re-education, information, because everyone uses as an excuse the fear of the black man, but I can't find the evidence of black men attacking police. I've seen evidence of police attacking non-violent protesters with hoses and dogs and things of this nature. So I feel like we have to attack the history and the narrative and get to somebody that is willing to acknowledge that and have the courage enough to face it.
Thank you for your time. Very well stated. Next up, we have just two more comments. Second to last, we have Mr. Michael Wilson. Mr. Michael Wilson? Thank you, Michael.
First of all, thank you for the truth. Second of all, I'm gonna talk to the community, because I don't talk to them, because we've been trying to talk to them and they don't like to do their job. So I'm gonna ask the people to think about $2 billion. $2 billion being allocated to LAPD for them to be able to do their job. $2 billion. And they claim consistently, they need more funding. And we give it to them as taxpayers. If you pay your taxes, you give it to them. And they say, this will make things better. And then we take money out of our school, but we give it to them. $2 billion. And I don't know if anyone, they had a meeting, Mike Fuhrer just had a meeting not too far from here at a church, where he announced to the community openly that the $2 billion that you all are paying for is being used to track your children, to track you, to track your nephews, to track your husbands and your wives. Why? To stop crime from even happening before it happens. So if now we are at a point where LAPD is choosing to use $2 billion that the community is giving them openly to track their own children, to follow crime that is not being committed, and now partnering and going into schools that aren't funded with $2 billion to do the same thing to your children, not just you. We might want to reinvest in our thinking first and start asking ourselves, why are we so willing to give $2 billion away to oppress ourselves? And we might want to start asking the reality. You can cut me off, it's fine, I promise, I got a loud voice. We might want to start realizing.
But we actually do have to move on, Michael.
The reality that sadly, Because if I kill somebody, I'm going to jail. But the police continue to beat us. They continue to take our lives without weapons. And we haven't attacked them yet. You showed me one time we had a mass attack on police.
We appreciate your time, brother. We do have to move on, though, brother.
So this new chief, for all of the people, in a very real way, hey, I ask that we all not just come to these meetings, but when they put us in, they will. Daddy, they will. Since they got a shirt off for a reason, because they don't think we have it. But remember, this president just elected a CIA head. That was a torture. She enjoyed torture. This is a culture.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up, brother. We do thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We have one more person to bring up. Thank you for your time, brother. We do. Give him a hand, though. We appreciate your time. Thank you. And thank you for everybody listening and being patient. Our last speaker will be community member Jasmine Haley. Jasmine. Thank you, Jasmine.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Okay, so my thing is mental health. I'm here for mental health. I really need for him, our leader, to have a strong background in mental health and have a clear understanding of what it is and how it affects us as Black people and our community as a whole. I'm raising a daughter who it's difficult at times, you know? Because I need her to see safety. I need her to see harmony in her community and in her home and around her community and school. So please, I'm imploring you, commissioners, to choose someone who's sound mentally. And on the housing front, affordable housing too. Someone who knows what it looks like and knows what it feels like to be out there. To be displaced and to know the struggle, just to have that background. I just also implore that the leader have some scope of community relation and for him to implore to his staff that he needs to show up at our events, the events that we plan that are important to us, the big ones, not the little meetings, the big events, and make a presence, make his face known. I really appreciate everyone here tonight because it means the world to me, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Again, I want to give everybody a round of applause for participating tonight, and thank you again for your time. Before we go, I would like to reintroduce our Vice President of the LA Police Commission, Mr. Matt Johnson, also Commissioner Goldsmith and Richard Tefank. Before they head out, I'd like them to give some closing remarks and definitely share with you guys a little bit before they go.
Thank you. Well, again, I just want to thank all of you for coming out. This will be our 7th community meeting. This was definitely our most well-attended. We got a lot of excellent feedback tonight. I really appreciate you, Mr. Brooks, and the Sentinel for hosting this, and of course, Council President Wesson and Council members Marquise Harris Dawson and Kern Price for co-hosting and putting it together. And most importantly, I know you're all busy. I know you have lots of other things you could be doing, so I appreciate you all coming out and taking a part in this very important process and this very important decision that we're about to make. So thank you very much.
Ms. Goldsmith, do you have any comments?
Ditto. Thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure.
Good. Okay, again, I would like to thank everybody for coming out. Any questions or anything, you all can, come up to me afterwards, but we do appreciate you. Thank you. Oh yeah, and we do have LA Sentinel newspapers in the back. This week's edition is out early tonight, so please take one. It's Thursday's edition tomorrow, so thank you all.
Excellent. Cut, print, we're moving on. Hi, I'm Shane Woodson on the set of Cain and Abel here in Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Okay, I need my actors back on set, back in position.